Against the Ropes podcast.
Contra las cuerdas.
Against the Ropes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Welcome back to another live show. Gio Garcia here alongside Christian Mosqueda. Back for another episode. Another big week in boxing. We have a lot to discuss today. Welcome to the show.
Like you said, Joe, it was a huge week of boxing. Whether you were tuning in or whether you were trying to boycott it, you couldn't deny it. So yeah, man, let's get it going.
All right, so yeah, we'll go ahead and begin chronological order. Friday, we had a ton of action on Friday, so we'll go ahead and begin with some of the undercard fights. Of course, on that Tyson Paul event on Netflix. We'll talk about the numbers and all that. It seems like it was a success. There was a few championship fights on that undercard. We can go ahead and begin, and I don't want to give it too much time, but Mario Barrios against Abel Ramos. That was for a welterweight champion, Chris. I criticized the welterweight division last week. I think this was a prime example of why I criticize it so much. Mario Barrios struggling against Abel Ramos, possibly even fortunate to get a draw. He got dropped in that fight. He dropped Ramos as well. To me, Barrios has never been elite. He showed it. He's struggling against a guy who had 6 losses in Ramos. But it was a great entertaining fight. I think it was a good show. We'll talk about the exposure and all the, you like to call them casuals, Chris, the C words. We need them in the sport, but hopefully a lot of them, were able to follow maybe Barrios or Ramos, and hopefully they were entertained. But it was a good fight in my opinion.
Yeah, to me that fight, if we went by the script of what's supposed to happen in the world of boxing, it should have been a blowout by Mario Barrios. We said again, sometimes he doesn't fight to the level that he should be at when he's fighting these C-level type of fighters. But like you said, it turned out to be a much more entertaining fight than what purists thought, and it served to the benefit of the mainstream media. I thought it was a great fight. It was entertaining, back and forth. Again, I think Barrios lowered his level and able performed. So it turned out for a great fight.
Yeah, and let's take a look at those scorecards. 112, 114, 113, 113, 116, 110. So a split draw. One guy had it for Barrios, one guy had it for Ramos, and one guy had it straight down the middle. Barrios retains his WBC 147 strap. They're probably gonna run it back. This was entertaining enough for I think for the fans to buy into the second one. Entertaining, that's all I can say, but to me it just highlights um why this welterweight division is so weak. You know, a champion who was struggling, email champion, right? I don't think Mario Barrios actually won the title. But he is the WBC champion, struggle in this one. You would think that if anybody in the top 5 challenges him, they probably walk away with that belt. But I mean, it was a good, entertaining fight. I liked it, and I don't have much else on it. I think it was a good showing leading up to that Coleman event.
Yeah, again, I thought it was gonna be, one-sided fight for Barrios. He's, I would say, B level fighter, B plus on a good night. Um, but again, he underestimated Abel. I don't know if the moment the Mike Tyson, the Jake Paul name, I don't know if that took away from his. I don't want to say his focus, but again, there's a lot of people were not talking about your fight. A lot of people were like, "You're on that Mike Tyson fight." Ooh, like all the hoopla was going away from you. So I don't know if he underestimated Abel. Again, Abel, I think he fought much better than what people anticipated. Dropped them again, made it very exciting for the mainstream fan who doesn't know who these guys are. Like, they just want to see a back and forth kind of fight, and that's what they got. So again, as you mentioned, it is a weak division. When I was seeing that fight, I was like, Gio's gonna have a field day with this one. Again, highlighting how Mario Barrios should be levels above Abel, but again, he just fights to the level of his opposition sometimes. Again, I thought he fought well in that Ugas fight, probably his biggest win to date. But again, he struggles, to the benefit, I guess, of the mainstream fan.
Yeah, I mean, this is who Barrios is, Chris. I don't know why you're trying to make it seem like he's not. I don't think beating Ugas is a great achievement, especially at his age when that fight happened. So this is Barrios. He's not a guy known for defense. He's not really a guy known for much. Let's be honest. His rise to fame was losing to Tank, getting stopped by Tank. So um, I'm still scratching my head as to why he's champion, but he must know people. He must know people. Um, but yeah, I'm sure they'll run it back, and we'll see. I mean, he was dominating the first half of the fight and then got caught and everything changed. But we'll see. I'm sure, like I said, we'll see it again. Not sure if it's going to be on an event of this magnitude, but yeah, we'll probably see it again. Talking about magnitude, possibly the biggest women's fight in boxing history. Biggest purses for sure, 6.1 million. We talked about it last week. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, once again delivered, and once again controversial, Chris. We picked Serrano to win this fight. I'm sure we both felt like she got the short end of the stick. You were actually there. Tell us about that, the reaction by the crowd, and how the atmosphere was, because this was a great fight. It was a brutal fight. We'll talk about the cut. I don't want to say too much, but yeah, tell us a little bit more about the fight.
Of course, the atmosphere was electric. There was 73,000 strong in that building. I heard it from people, and I heard it from the people that know boxing in that ring. Oh, this women's fight is gonna be amazing. I heard the people that know boxing telling their mainstream casual fans like, hey, get ready for this one. This one's gonna be a barn burner, and exactly what it was. Gio, back and forth fight. I also felt that Serrano edged it. I'm a little mad because our predictions should have been rewarded with what we saw in that ring. We felt that Serrano was gonna have more will. She was gonna try to even that scoreboard, and I felt like she did. She won a majority of those rounds convincingly, in my opinion. some competitive rounds, but overall, I feel like she did enough. Once we saw the decision, we heard the decision, it was the same sentiments. A lot of boos, a lot of people just not happy with that decision. They felt that Amanda Serrano did enough to win that fight, and I think Taylor's corner also knew that. So again, Taylor walks away with a minor robbery, I want to say, Gio.
Yeah, and let's see what the official scores were. Um, was it 95? Let me see. Let me confirm this. 95, 94, essentially all three judges. Amanda Serrano was able to get to Katie Taylor, I think stunned her in the first, at the end of the first. And then that cut happened. Let's keep it real. That Katie Taylor was fighting dirty. She, once the accidental headbutt happened, she kept rubbing her head on that cut. That wasn't an accident. If something happens over and over and over again, it's just not accidental anymore. I understand that in a fight, you got to do what you got to do to win. But that was pretty dirty, man. And look, I do think the fight should have been stopped. It was a brutal, a bad cut. I don't think Amanda Serrano has anything to prove to us. I think fighting 1 or 2 rounds with that cut proved that she's a warrior. If we didn't know that already, at this stage of her career, like I said, she has nothing to prove. I don't understand. A lot of times these corners, what goes through their heads. Obviously, the fighters are never gonna stop fighting. Sometimes you gotta save them from themselves. We talked recently about Tim Zhu and how his corner fumbled the bag. I think it was the same case in this one. Look, if they stop the fight and it's a no contest or whatever, it's a controversial decision, either way, they'll probably get a third back, Chris. They just got 6.1 million for this fight. If that fight ends early because of that cut, I'm 100% sure they would have made that fight happen again and they could have got another 6 million. But instead, you allow your fighter to continue. You force them to fight with a handicap, blood in her eyes. Like 50 said, said, blood in my eye, dog, and I can't see. She couldn't see, man. She couldn't see from that side. So, the fight is already tough enough already as is. Now with a handicap, you got to point fingers at that corner. You got to protect your fighter. I mean, that thing was brutal. I couldn't even look at it every time they were zooming into it, in between rounds. I was looking away, but yeah, I felt like a lot of people felt like Serrano did enough. She broke a record for punches landed, but according to the judges, she didn't. And once again, loses by controversial decision. I think she should have got the nod. But I'm pointing fingers at her corner.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's moments where these corners just have to make a sensible decision, a business decision, I'd say. I understand that, their fighters gonna have this war mentality. They also don't want to let the crowd down. They don't want the crowd to boo them for stopping the fight. I understand all this, but as a corner, man, you just gotta be like, this is the best decision for us to make. Just trust me on this. I'll take the blame. I'll take that I'm the one that decided to stop it. Like, just trust me. And again, it's unfortunate that happened. You said earlier that Mario Barrios has connections. I know for sure Katie Taylor has connections, and I love Katie Taylor. I think she's great for boxing. She's a media darling, in my opinion, and she's just phenomenal. Her career is unparalleled. But in those moments, if you let this fight go, the 4 rounds, they're gonna find a way to kind of give it to her, her edge, and I think that's exactly what happened in this fight, Gio. Again, it's unfortunate. The first fight, I felt Amanda Serrano fell short slightly. In this fight, I feel that she did she did enough in a way convincingly to win this fight, and it sucks. It's unfortunate that it was taken away from her. Right now, she should be named, champion of the world after having, won in 6, 7 weight classes, she deserved to get this nod. And again, a little bit of blame goes to that corner. A little bit of blame obviously goes to the judges, and she deserves a third fight. And if she would have won this one, like you said, stop the fight, things would have been even one apiece. And then your third fight, you command a substantial amount of money coming in as a champion. So, the corner has to take responsibility for that one.
Yeah, and look, they could have used that streaming number to their advantage too as leverage. They could have said, "Hey,
Yeah.
look, 50 million were watching our fight." It wasn't quite the 60 million that were watching the main event, but they could have easily said 50 million people watched our fight. So you better pay us more money. So yeah, they definitely fumbled the bag. As I said, I'm not sure what that corner was thinking. You got to protect your fighter, man. Like, do you not care about your fighter bleeding out in that ring? Like, she was losing so much blood, she couldn't see. She kept getting tagged from that side. And as you said, Katie Taylor, did what she had to win. I picked Katie Taylor to win that first fight. And even then, I was like, she probably edged it out. She probably didn't. In this one, as I said, I think most people thought that Serrano won. And that's hard to do for a person like Katie Taylor to fight overseas and get the nod. That doesn't usually happen either. You know, but yeah, I just wasn't content with how she was using her head to her advantage against that cut. The referee only deducted 1 point. And if you take a look at Katie Taylor's hair after the fight, it was bright red, and that was all Serrano's blood. So, yeah, it was brutal, man. It was brutal. Um, they both, I think, at the end it was just all adrenaline, just throwing a lot of punches, and yeah, difficult to score, but it seemed like Serrano was landing the more effective punches. Obviously, that's kind of hard to say also when you see all that blood coming down her face, but it was from an uppercut. An accidental cut, and it was also from Katie Taylor continuing to rub her head on that cut, and uh every single time that they clinched or they got close to each other, she was leading with her head.
Yeah, and against you, that first fight, if I had to break it down in percentages, I feel like Katie won 52% of that fight to 47. This one, I felt like it was maybe 60%, 40%, or 55-45 in favor of Serrano, and then you get that point deduction. I almost felt like that one was the nail in the coffin. Of course, like you said, with that gash, you almost have to stop the fight because that even if you're winning certain rounds, the judges, they're gonna see that big old cut, they're gonna see that blood, and that can easily sway them. Like I don't understand the logic of the trainers outside of the beliefs that, oh, my fighter's a warrior, she's not gonna want me to stop this fight, et cetera, et cetera. Dude, as soon as you see that, you should know that you're gonna have to win these rounds even more convincingly because even if you land 5 punches to one, that one punch that Katie lands on that eye, it starts bleeding, boom, that's gonna convince the judges right there and then. So again, I think these coaches, they need to take some, what do we call it? I don't know, some business. What do you do in these situations? I get it. They're just there to train and do you know the heavy work, but yeah, man, if you're protecting your fighter, you're not just protecting their health, you're also protecting their bag. So again, unfortunate for Serrano.
Yeah, and look, this changed the whole fight. That's the thing. That cut changed the whole fight. Serrano didn't look like herself after that. She looked like, you know, at times she maybe got a little desperate, and rightfully so. If you can't see out of that eye, you feel like you got to end the fight now. She had hurt Katie Taylor already, so she probably felt like she could do it again. And that just changed the whole fight. So, yeah, I wasn't content at that. Not necessarily content at the final scorecard either. But yeah, I think for Taylor, obviously she retains those belts. Uh, she's what, 36, I think now. You gotta
Yeah.
you gotta wonder how much she has left. She's not the same fighter. It seemed like Amanda Serrano had a little bit more left in the tank. But I think that nasty cut and then again that controversial decision kind of, I think that trilogy is off the table now. But you never know. They both got 6 milli. They got 50 million streams reportedly on Netflix. So you never know.
Yeah, for me, it almost it's hard to sell a trilogy when you're down 0-2, even though you feel it's 1-1, and on paper it's 0-2. So it's hard to sell a third fight. I agree that right now it's off the table. It's fairly fresh. Maybe when the dust settles, 6 months pass, 8 months pass, you find another great main event, and you try to sell this one. Maybe they run it back, but it's hard to sell. If it was 1-1 a piece deal, easy sell the stuff. Like you said, you have all that leverage. How many people watched? Not just that they watched, but they were thoroughly entertained with that kind of bout. Sometimes we get fights where people hype it up and you're like, oh, you're gonna get sold on this fight, and it's a dud. It's flat. You almost feel, you know, like as a purist, you're like, man, they made me look bad. But this one didn't disappoint. So it's possible to sell again. But 0-2, it's much easier to sell it if they have one win apiece.
Katie Taylor 38 to clarify. Serrano's 36.
Yeah, they're not spring chickens no more, deal. Up in their 30s.
No, but it was a great fight. It was a great fight. They delivered once again. It was exciting. I know some people were saying fight of the year. I'm sure it's going to be a candidate. When it's coming soon already. It's approaching fast. Those end of the year awards. We got to start thinking about those fights, and I'm sure this is going to be up there. But I think, as I said, so many streams, so many people on Netflix on a Friday evening who are probably like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna be home, turn on Netflix. I'm sure it was the first thing that popped up. I'm sure a lot of people just said, hey, why not Mike Tyson? Let's turn it on, and hopefully they got to witness some good boxing. I like the undercard. I thought it was entertaining. As far as like the real fights go, and obviously after that we got Mike Tyson's return to the ring. This was a sanctioned bout, as we spoke about last week. This does count on his record. Let's get into that, Chris. How was the crowd there live in Texas? Were they excited to see Mike? Were they excited to see Jake Paul, perhaps? A lot of people are saying, oh, this fight only garnered the attention it did because of Tyson. Some people are saying it was because of Paul. What were your thoughts being there in that arena?
Yeah, no, first of all, I don't agree with that. I think, they both bring the star power, Gio, and, even if you're a star, you need a dancing partner to really garner the attention of, we'll talk about the numbers, the numbers that they brought. But yeah, being in that stadium, it was packed. People were rowdy, people were loud, people were excited. It's the baddest man on the planet, and it's probably the most known man in social media, arguably. So yeah, I said this time and time again, this is one of those events where for the first time in a long time, every generation was watching this fight on the same TV. We get split along the lines. Everybody would stream what they want on their phone. The parents watch, what they want on their set. This is the first time I feel in a while that everybody was tuning in, the whole family, the tío, the tías, the primos, everybody, from all walks of life. So yeah, that was felt throughout that stadium, Gio. People were hyped over Mike Tyson. Anytime an image of him, of his highlights, of what he's been doing the last couple of years, people would get a roar. I haven't heard a loud of a pop. When they first saw him coming into the stadium, the behind the scenes, people were just loud, Gio. It's almost like, the respect for this legend was palpable. So again, it was a great, great atmosphere. I know the fight felt a little flat, and I know a lot of people back at home were expecting more. So was I, but at least for the experience of being in that building, Gio, it was amazing.
All right, and let's go into this article that I pulled up right here $18.1 million gate. The biggest gate outside of Vegas. So let's get into, those numbers. Obviously, we knew a lot of people were going to be there. AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. They were saying 72,300 fans attended this fight. 18,117,072 to be specific is the number that they are reporting. They're saying it's the 9th highest combat sports gate ever in U.S. history. Oh, look at that. They're saying even the Netflix stock rose 2.8%. We'll get into that. But the previous record was, the Texas record was Canelo Billy Joe Saunders, 9 million. We knew a lot of people attended that fight, but this one blew it out the water. I want to start by saying this. I don't think this is bad for boxing. I don't think this is bad for boxing because we talked about the undercard, a lot of eyes, I'm sure, on those boxers as well. Hopefully they're following Guru a little bit, but they're reporting 16 million people streamed this fight. Biggest or largest audience for a live sporting event when it comes to streaming, and number one is boxing, Chris. So that's good. That's always a good thing. All eyes on boxing this weekend. Anytime that happens, I'm never mad at it. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a YouTube guy like Jake Paul. As long as boxing is garnering that attention, that many eyes, I'm not mad at it. Guys on the undercard got to shine, got a little bit more exposure. So I'm not mad at it for that reason. Obviously, a lot of people are mad at how the fight happened. But I think we kind of knew all along that it was basically an exhibition. Jake Paul got 40 milli supposedly, and Mike Tyson got 20, plus $250,000 for showing them cheeks, Chris. No Diddy. But hey, they got paid, so I'm not gonna hate on that.
Yeah, to me, you cannot hate on a well promoted, event like this one. And again, I agree. I know a lot of people felt, that the main event fell flat. I get that. I understand that. Who doesn't want to see action? I want to see action. Everybody that tunes in wants to see action. Understandable. But just the fact that it garnered so much attention, it got so many views. It was 65 million plus people watching and tuning in. Again, this is, a 50-year-old, 58-year-old guy against a 27-year-old. Again, it's their names just, have so much, they garner so much weight. And, again, you said it, Gio, they were able to, put some good names on the undercard, get them exposure. That's only to the benefit of the sport. So, again, you got to respect those numbers, man. The numbers are numbers. And, you probably won't get anybody, that are true boxers get these type of numbers. And I know that a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, but it's the truth. Again, in this sport, to garner any kind of attention, you have to be entertaining. You got to have the story. You got to, invoke people's psyches, and that's what Jake Paul does. That's what Mike Tyson once upon did, and they'll continue to do it to this day. So again, it's a shout out to just their branding. So yeah, man. Again, boxers from all over the world can learn from this and build themselves.
100%. And look, if there are still any boxers out there hating, man, stop being so boring, man. Find a way to get paid. Do something. If unless you're knocking everybody out in the ring, you better be entertaining off the ring. Because only a few guys have been able to do that. Guys like Triple G who didn't even speak English. But when they stepped onto that ring, they were knocking everybody out. Stop being boring. Don't hate on Jake Paul, man, just because he's making millions and millions of dollars and he just started boxing. But hey, he was able to get people to buy into it, entertain people, so I'm never going to hate on that, but I am going to hate on the boring boxer, which is like 99% of you guys. So get your weight up, man. Stop being so goddamn boring. Stop hating on Jake Paul. You know, when it comes to the fight itself, I didn't really care too much about it. I think after a couple rounds, we knew that Mike Tyson looked his age. He moved like his age. He moved like a 58-year-old man. A lot of people saying it was scripted, that, you know, he was supposed to hold back and not hurt Jake Paul or whatever. But, you know, we both picked Jake Paul to win by decision because we kind of knew, man, that he's fighting a 58-year-old man, you know, and he's probably not going to knock him out because that's just going to look weird, you know, him knocking out an old man. So I feel like they both kind of held back. You know, we kind of knew it was going to go the distance. It was entertaining for a couple rounds, and then after that, you're like, oh man, just that's enough. You know, I'm just glad it was 2-minute rounds and no one got hurt and they got their bags. And look, you can't hate on it. 72,000 people there in attendance. Chris was one of them. 60 million people streamed the fight. I was one of them. You know, so can't hate on it, man.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Gio, do you think Mike Tyson held a little bit, or do you think it was just more his age? And again, we don't know what 58 feels like, but you know, even us in our 30s, we don't feel the same that we did when we were like our, you know, 18, 19, in our 20s. Do you feel like it was mostly his age, or do you think there's a little bit of him that held back?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think everybody was kind of knew that, or most people kind of knew that his best chance was going to be in the first couple rounds. Seemed like he could have landed something big, but never really pulled the trigger. And I think toward the second half of the fight, I just think he was gassed out. And he actually wrote a statement. I don't want to misquote him, so I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up. So buy me like 30 seconds. I want to pull up what Mike Tyson wrote after the fight, you know, basically him going through his health issues and being able to go 8 rounds against a guy half his age. You know, he sees that as an accomplishment. But yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I think he held back a little bit, but I think he had a lot of limitations physically.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, you know, a lot of people think, you know, 3, 4 rounds he can do it. But if you unleash those bombs, if you take those risks, you probably won't make it the distance, you know, on stamina and on age alone. So I agree. I think it's a little bit of both. I know there's this narrative that it was completely, you know, scripted. I I believe, you know, we know boxing, even true boxing matches, there's little stipulations here and there. I think there's too much money involved for there not to be, you know, a few of those things behind the scenes. But for the most part, I think it was a lot of, you know, having to do with his age. He didn't want to take too many risks. I think Jake Paul also held a little bit back. I think he respects him too much, where he didn't want to, you know, use 100% of his, you know, abilities. So I think there was a combination of both. But you know, I agree that, you know, on this night, you know, Mike Tyson felt his age, and you know, we would have been, you know, we would have seen more of those bombs unleashed if he fought somebody his age or around his age. But yeah, man, 58 is 58, man. Again, we're not near there. We're already kind of slowed down just a little bit.
All right, so here is the statement by Mike Tyson after the fight. He wrote, "This is one of those situations wherein you lost but still won. I'm grateful for last night. No regrets to get in ring one last time. I almost died in June. I had 8 blood transfusions, lost half my blood and 25 pounds in the hospital and had to fight to get healthy to fight. So I won." Let's see if I can pull up the rest of this. Let me see. To have my children see me stand toe to toe and finish 8 rounds with a talented fighter half my age in front of a packed Dallas Cowboy stadium is an experience that no man has a right to ask for thank you, says Mike Tyson.
No, I completely agree with that statement, Joe. I think he should be very proud of himself. Again, at 58 years old, like who does that, man? That's only a beast, at that age decides to train and get ready for something like this against like, somebody half your age. So no, I commend him. I think that's what makes him one of the baddest men on the planet, even to this day, just to do that at 58. I think throughout that fight, we saw glimpses in the first round, especially of his ferociousness, and I think, like you said, he gassed out early on, and maybe there was those moments like, do I take a risk here? Do I try to knock him out and end up getting knocked out? He probably was thinking about his health. He was probably going like, yeah, no, I want to be able to spend this money and enjoy it. We know boxing already is a dangerous sport, so at 58 even more. So I think they both knew, let's take a little bit off. We're gonna get paid anyways. Let's enjoy this money.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't have much, a lot of to add on this. I must add, our stream kept buffering, and we thought it was just like the TV or the internet, but once we went on the line, a lot of people were complaining about that too. Um, another thing I wanted to touch on, kind of on that topic, is when when they first announced that Netflix was going to stream this fight, I'm like, oh, this has got to be like their pilot, their trial. I'm sure they're getting into live sports, and yeah, it seems like they're going to be doing the Christmas football game. Let me pull this up for you. So yeah, Netflix is getting into live sports. They'll have to fix, their servers or whatever they got to fix. Um, not sure that they'll be getting 60 million streams for, some of their future events that they'll be streaming. Obviously, this was a mega event. The stream was crashing. We'll see if they can fix those issues by the time they stream their next live sporting event.
Yeah, no, I heard a little bit about that. I heard there was a few. So there was quite a few, Jim.
I'm sorry.
Did it happen like during the fight, or was it before the fight when?
It was happening. It was happening throughout the whole event, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think to their defense, they were like, man, that's how many people are watching. But and Netflix needs to get ready because yeah, that's a low key bad look. But yeah, I also saw that this event brought their stock up 2.8%, man. For something to move their stock up, even just a percentage, it's got to be substantial. So again, again, this is where you have to have like big names when it comes to making events. You need to have a dance partner. You got to be a dance partner yourself. So again, shout out to these people for bringing in these huge numbers.
Yeah, and I missed out. I don't have any Netflix stock, but maybe later on we'll see what else they can stream. But I'm not mad at it. Look, as I said, Netflix already has a ton of subscribers. I'm gonna go ahead and look up the exact numbers. So I'm sure it was a lot of uh casuals, as you like to call them, Chris. But we need those people to watch the fights. Those are the people that end up buying the pay-per-views, and end up getting this crazy number, 60 million. So uh yeah, I'm not mad. At first, I thought it was a little weird that it was on Netflix, but I think now hindsight, it makes total sense.
So I gotta ask you, what happens next? Do you want to see Mike Tyson again? He did allude that when they asked him if he wanted to keep going, I expected him to say like, no, that's it, I'm done. This is something I wanted to get out of the way, and I'm good to retire. But he left that door open. And also, where does Jake Paul go from here?
Yeah, it looked like Mike wanted to do it again. He didn't say no when they asked him, so we might see him again. We know he's not fighting. Holyfield is not interested in that. Maybe Tyson didn't feel all the way healthy in this one, and maybe he thinks he can do another fight and feel more healthy. Who knows? But yeah, I think 20 million plus sponsorship deals and everything. He was wearing Venom gloves. He got money to show ass. You know, I don't know what else, he got money for, but um yeah, I think he looked good physically.
Yeah.
He didn't really fight like it, but he looked good physically. I'm sure we might see him again. And as far as Jake Paul, everybody's calling him out. I saw even Arthur Beterbiev said, "Come fight a real fighter." We know he's not gonna fight Beterbiev. But guys like Antonio Tarver was saying, "Hey, if he can beat me, he's legit." Like everyone's calling him out. Uh, who for sure, uh, I don't think will even acknowledge him is this guy right here, Canelo. Canelo's not into that clown stuff, so he ain't getting that payday. He got 40 milli to fight Mike Tyson, but yeah, I'm not sure he gets a bigger bag than that. Um, I think he might try to fight another maybe old guy, Chris. A guy like Tarver wouldn't be bad for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that would be a good match. It gives him a little bit more credibility. Tarver obviously is older, but not as old as Mike. So I mean that's it's not the first time Antonio Tarver would have fought an old guy. We know that he fought Rocky Balboa in the film, but yeah, this is a little bit different. But I would tune in for that. Again, you got to commend Jake Paul too, Gio. Again, he's taking the sport pretty seriously. To be in there and compete and not get caught with these shots. The last 3-4 years, he's been taking the sport really serious. We used to obviously, I think the first year we were pretty critical of him, but I think he's proven us wrong just a bit. So you got to commend him for even just convincing people that he is worthy of getting in the ring uh, in a sports circle. So and for him to have guys, I'm surprised Betcher called him out. I would think Beterbiev would be in those names like Canelo that doesn't take him seriously just because these are true fighters. But like you said, it's payday. This Jake Paul alongside Canelo are the biggest names in boxing when it comes to garnering, paydays. So I see what he's doing there, but he would smash him obviously. But yeah, I think Canelo is not entertaining it. He's said it time and time again. It's crazy that people are considering that. That just shows that Jake Paul can sell himself and market himself enough for people to talk about it. But I don't see Canelo doing it. If he does, man, that'd be crazy. But yeah, again, you gotta give Jake Paul his due when it comes to marketing skills.
Yeah, Netflix, 282 million paid subscribers worldwide as of the third quarter of 2024. So yeah, that can be a big market. That could work both ways. They could work for Netflix and it could work for boxing if they continue with that partnership. We'll see. But that was Friday, Chris. We still have Saturday to get to. So Saturday, Riyadh season, Turkey Ala, Sheik, Matchroom, Golden Boy was out there. De La Hoya dressed as a mariachi. It was Latino night. So I don't know how I feel about the whole Latino night thing. I didn't really care too much for it, but there were a lot of good fights on there. We'll go in chronological order. Let's start with Camarón Cepeda, who struggled against Tevin Farmer. Got a split, I believe. I'll go ahead and pull up the exact cards. Got dropped in the fourth round. At the end of the day, I think volume punching won it for him. Struggled. Cepeda's never been known for defense. Kind of one-dimensional. He showed it in this fight. Tarver, I'm sorry. Tevin Farmer, I'm sure, will keep getting opportunities. Will probably continue to be used as a stepping stone for those younger guys trying to prove themselves because, back-to-back fights, he proved to be a worthy opponent. Against Murataya and now against Cepeda. We thought he was going to get knocked out in both. He didn't. So, I'm sure he'll get some calls again when they're trying to build up these young guys. But, Cepeda, a little disappointing, but he kind of is who he is. I think they've done a great job promoting him, building him up. But he might have reached his peak already. And I like Cepeda. I think he's entertaining. I think he's just a little too one-dimensional for me.
Yeah, again, we've interviewed Cepeda, a nice guy. he's a good fighter, but this one stylistically was a little tough for him. I agree with you, Gio. The volume punching at the end, what I think was a difference maker. I think he felt the urgency, especially getting dropped, getting knocked down, by a guy like Kevin Farmer. That was probably the most shocking moment of that night. I don't think too many people expected it, even though people knew that Kevin Farmer has that awkward style. He's got some good counter punching abilities. Again, that style kind of favors Farmer in the quarters, especially because he's a little bit more defensively sound style wise. But yeah, man. Again, I agree with you, man. I'm gonna say, this one tells you where William Cepeda's at, and if he doesn't make, or he doesn't add layers to his game, he's gonna be exposed by those other fighters at a higher level. So again, I think Kevin Farmer, gave a good account of himself. William Cepeda was able to respond in that second half, bounce back from getting dropped. That can get you mentally. But yeah, there's limits. There's limits to his game.
Yeah, and that was that. Here are the official scorecards for that fight. 95-94, basically 2-1. All judges had it 95-94. 1 in favor of Farmer, 2 in favor of Cepeda, who walks away with the victory. And yeah, obviously we hear the Shakur rumors. I don't think he beats Shakur. I think Shakur figures him out easily, but one thing that Cepeda does have is power. He does have 27 KOs and 32 wins, 28 years old. So, that can bail him out in some of the fights. In this fight, he just got the nod, as Big Bro says, but we'll see where they take it. I think this was a very good fight on that undercard. We also had Oscar Duarte, who won by unanimous decision. Zizzo Ziyud Hamayouf, who had a majority draw. And of course, friend of the show, Arnold Barboza Jr., unanimous decision over Jose Carlos Ramirez, 97-93, and then 96-94 twice, which he thought that was too close. As we predicted, he outboxed Jose Ramirez. To me, he's just a better boxer than Ramirez. I never really considered Ramirez elite. But he put up a good fight, and big opportunity for Arnold. Took advantage of it, and we'll see what's next. You have a surprise announcement for us, but one of the things that I'd like to know is, will this encourage or discourage some of those guys at 140 to step into the ring with him? In this fight, he won it wasn't the most exciting fight, but he won the fight with the jab, combination punches, and simple footwork. Some of the basics that Ramirez never really had. If I call Cepeda one-dimensional, I don't even know what Ramirez is. 0.5 dimensional? I don't know. Like, he's just the guy who comes forward and will do the same things over and over again. But good win, very good win for Barboza. Solidifies his name as one of the top guys at 140 now, but we'll see. As a very contested division. I'm not sure. I didn't even look at the result for Matias. I'm assuming he won, but there's still a lot of names in that division.
Yeah, obviously, Joe. We have our bias when it comes to Arnold Barboza Jr. I was living this fight round by round. I knew it was going to be a contested fight. There was a lot of people that before this fight felt that Jose Ramirez was going to win. I think even our polls favored Ramirez. Obviously, he's more well known. He's great corner like Robert Garcia, wealth of experience on that side. Former title holder. So there was a lot of people that were riding with Ramirez, and in moments in this fight was tough. I would say for Arnold, but Arnold stayed composed, disciplined. Did what he needed to do to win rounds. Stuck to the game plan. Again, one of the things I was trying to see was how combat that volume punching that Ramirez is known for. A lot of people were telling us, messaging us that he's got too much volume, and our guy wasn't going to be able to withstand that. But I think just like a matador, Barbosa was able to keep him at bay in moments, was able to, suffocate that volume punching and pick the shots. I like the combinations that he threw in the center of the ring. Those 4 or 5, were wonders. And again, he was very disciplined throughout the whole fight. Wasn't dominant. Many people were expecting. I know there's a high ceiling for Barbosa in moments because he's been waiting for so long. People expect him like you finally got your chance. These guys, they said they're washed. You should be able to take them out easily, but that's not the case. Now Ramirez is still a formidable opponent, a little past his prime, but still dangerous. So again, it was a great performance for Arnold. I'm gonna say that this kind of performance actually enticed his opponent. It kind of reminds me, not on the skill level, I would say, but it reminds me of Martinez, where certain fights he was still winning, but still looking, vulnerable in moments where it would entice opponents. So I think if Arnold would have watched a guy like Jose Ramirez, most of the guys would be he's too high risk, too little reward. I think this one kind of makes people think that they can take him, and that can only favor Arnold Barbosa. He's gonna get those fights that he's been longing for so long. So I think this is gonna, work in his favor. So again, I think he's got more than enough to beat some of those guys. Some of those fights are gonna be very, difficult to, but I think he's got the mentality for that. And of course, we got a little bias, not gonna lie. But yeah, man, I'm excited for the doors that will open, post this fight. It was a long time coming. The way he said it before, he counted that the championship fight in his heart, but I know he's gonna want actual titles next. So announcement, we're gonna have him actually next Tuesday on our podcast. We're giving him a little break. He just finished this fight in Riyadh. Of course, he wants to spend some time with his family, but we've had him since 2017, 2018, and he's shown us a lot of love throughout the years. And he said that he'll come on the podcast next Tuesday.
Yeah, there you have it. So tune in next week. We'll be live with Arnold Barbosa Jr. This is one of the things that I wanted to point out. The poll, about who's going to win the fight, Ramirez or Barbosa. 68% had Ramirez. Usually our subscribers very knowledgeable. I think this was a pick going with the heart. Perhaps people not very familiar with Barbosa. Only 30% chose him. And that number was probably even more like 70-30. We know people always vote after the fact. So that number was even wider before the fight. And I just thought it was disrespectful. And I think that was a good bet to place if, you guys were looking to bet in any of the fights. Another poll that I wanted to show you guys as well, kind of rewinding to that ladies fight, Taylor and Serrano. Who did you have winning? I posted this 2 hours ago. We only have 23 votes on there right now. I'm going to go ahead and cast my vote. I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at the results. Once I click on here, it's going to show us. So I'm going to go ahead and click Serrano. 58% so far had Serrano winning that fight. So if you guys haven't voted, if you watched that fight, if you want to cast your vote, go ahead. It's up there on the Against the Ropes podcast channel, the community tab. So yeah. But staying on this Riyadh card, good opportunity for Arnold. As I said, he took advantage of it. And at the end of the day, I don't think it was that close. The cards kind of reflect a closer fight, and he didn't seem too happy about that. But yeah, well, we'll see what's next, man. So Gabriel Matias won, by the way, second round KO. He also fought this past weekend, of course, with all eyes on Tyson Paul, with all eyes on that Riyadh season card. I'm sure most people forgot about. That's Gabriel Matias fight. He fought in Puerto Rico, stopped Roberto Ramirez in 2 rounds. Ramirez was coming into the fight at 26-3, so that was kind of expected. Gabriel Matias coming back from that Liam Paro defeat didn't look good in that one at all. But 21-2, 21 KOs in those 21 wins. So he's still a player at 140.
Yeah, no, Matias, those fits are always going to give you a chance in those fights. Like you said, unfortunate reverse for him, dropping that fight to Liam Power. But again, those fits and that knockout power, it's always there. That could always be the ultimate equalizer. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see the mix up that happens at 140, Gio. Talking about Arnold Barbosa, do you think? I'll pose you the same question. Do you think this fight will make others want to fight him more or less?
I don't know. I don't know because yeah, it makes sense what you said, but at the same time, it's still high risk, low reward. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. If those guys really want to get it on, Pitbull Cruz is fighting. I don't know who on one of the undercards. He's not even fighting Rayo, so we'll see, man. We'll see who would want to step in there with him. I think Jose Ramirez saw this as, all right, if I'm able to get through Barboza, I still have it. I'm still gonna be considered one of the top guys at 140. You know, we found out that wasn't true. So I don't know. I think it's 50-50, but we'll have a conversation with him next week and see if, his managers or his promoter have spoken to him as far as what's next. They probably haven't already since the fight is so fresh, but we'll see next week if he has any intel. I think it's 50-50 though. I think, he gets closer to those top rankings, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people will fight him. We know a lot of those guys often avoid each other, so we'll have to wait and see. But let's go ahead and move on to the main event of that card. Man, I had predicted Chris Billam-Smith to defeat Zurdo. Zurdo surprised me, just like he surprised a lot of people. I saw him on the lead up to the fight. He looked a little chunky. He looked a little heavy. Man, I thought he was going to gas out, and I thought Billam-Smith was going to come out strong in that second half of that fight and steal most of those rounds or maybe even stop him, because Zurdo's still not showing much defense. He still got hit a lot in this fight, but he outworked Billam-Smith. I was very impressed by his stamina, by his chin, taking punches basically from a heavyweight. These guys are heavyweights on fight night. That cruiserweight limit is under 200 pounds. So on fight night, they're probably 210, 215, So I was impressed by his chin, his stamina. I like his trainer, Julian Chua. I think he's doing a very good job with him. And he unifies. So he retains, to me, what's very important is a belt at cruiserweight because, like I said last week, and I've said in the past, I think the fight with Canelo is still a possibility if Canelo's looking to conquer another division. He had flirted with that cruiserweight division before. Who knows if they're looking at that weight class still. But, Zurdo's up there. They're talking about the Opataya fight, perhaps. That's a big name in that division. But yeah, I was pretty impressed by Zurdo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those fights where I was a little nervous. Feel like I didn't study Billam-Smith enough prior to my pick, but I just felt that Zurdo was gonna have just enough. Of course, those thoughts came to my mind. I'm like, he's going. He's not gonna be the bigger guy. The other guy is obviously more settled into that weight class. I started having thoughts of when Chavez Jr. Went up in weight. Obviously we know him for being a weight bully, and then he gets knocked out by a bigger guy. So I'm not gonna lie, I was having those thoughts, but I'm glad that Zurdo, proved me right. With my last minute kind of pick. Again, you mentioned a great point. Ken holding on to that belt can entice Canelo. Again, it sets it up maybe for May if Canelo wants to, get another division, become, greater than what he already is. So that can be a Tyson and all Hispanic affair, Cinco de Mayo weekend for another belt. He's talked about, previously he doesn't fight his own countrymen, not because he doesn't want to, but because he doesn't want to derail their careers. And, I believe it. But I think people have talked to Canelo and they said it time and time again, you will only enhance their careers because they will learn and absorb from you, from that experience. And he's obviously going to be putting money in their pockets. So this is a fight that can happen next. Zurdo's coming on momentum, and obviously he's got at the reverse with Vivo. But this would be a great fight at cruiserweight, filled out. I think this will be a enticing fight.
Yeah, he seems solid at cruiserweight. So, he's gotten a couple back-to-back good wins now. So, yeah, I mean, he proved me wrong. Great fight, entertaining fight. Both men not worried too much about defense. Both men throwing big, landing big punches. Chris Billam-Smith had a cut over his eye, kind of affected him a little bit. But yeah, credit to both of them because they were tired. They're big men. They threw a lot of punches, and it was an entertaining fight. I think a good way to kind of end the weekend. A ton of good fights. This past weekend, championship fights, and that one, of course, did not disappoint. That little arena didn't seem like there was a lot of people in there. Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be a bigger venue, but maybe they figured, we have a lot of guys on this card who don't have the biggest of names, and it was a smaller arena, it seems like, but very good event nonetheless. I enjoyed boxing this past weekend. We still got December, and of course we'll have to start thinking about our end of the year awards. But entertaining weekend of boxing.
Yeah, I think fight fans got a little bit of everything this weekend, Gio. Obviously, you got those big names there with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul when it comes to mainstream popularity. But you also got a lot of boxers that purists, and we got some good entertaining fights. Again, I think the two fights before the Mike Tyson Jake Paul, that served it up well. Obviously, a little flat on the main event, but it's expected. And again, over there on the Riot season, great fight for Arnold Barbosa Jr. Great win, sets him up for bigger and better things. And Zurdo, convinces us that he is, firing on a lot of those cylinders at cruiserweight. Obviously, we've never had a Mexican up in those weight classes. That's usually reserved for the smaller weight classes, lightweight, welterweight, type of fighters. But yeah, man, he's making strides up there. And hopefully him and Canelo can get it on. And I feel like that would also be an entertaining fight.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to touch on. This happened today. The David Benavidez versus David Morrell face off. Benavidez looked a little chunky, Chris. A little chunky. And I thought it was just interesting that they were both holding their junior belts in this one. Someone in the comments said, so does the winner become a unified interim champion in that division at 175? But yeah, those things got heated. I just thought those two things were interesting. Benavidez looking very, very heavy, and both of them holding their junior belts during the photo op.
I mean, how many months to the fight, Gio? I mean, I saw that in the comments too. I'm like, this is just photo ops, man. Like, there's no time. Still got to shape.
February 1st, T-Mobile Arena. So they're fighting in Canelo's home. February 1st, and then here is the undercard that was posted. Figueroa versus Fulton 2. Cruz versus Fierro, I'm not sure who that is. Ramos Jr. versus Rosario, which is a good fight.
Mhm.
I mean, they're putting some names on that undercard. Of course, it's gonna be pay-per-view, so they're gonna have to try to sell it. Amazon pay-per-view, not sure if it'll sell, but yeah, they're trying to stack it up. They're trying to stack it up February 1st.
Okay, no, that's coming soon. I was thinking
3
it was
months.
a little bit later.
3
8 weeks before that, yeah, past Thanksgiving, he's getting the training camp starts. So it's a little normal to be a little pudgy on the midsection right now. But yeah, starting next week, they got to start training, and it's good to go. I'm excited for the fight, Gio. I feel like none of that is scripted. I love it when a fight feels like there's true animosity. I don't think Benavidez hates Morrell as much as he hated, Caleb Plant and all their drama. But David Benavidez is a guy that I feel, there's true beef and true competitiveness. So I'm excited for that one. Again, I think it's a dangerous fight for both men. And this is one of those fights where I think David Benavidez is fighting David Morrell a little early for David Morrell, but I'm not gonna complain about it. It's gonna be great action, both big men, and can't wait to see it.
Yeah, that's February 1st, about 3.5 months away. And yeah, I mean, I think that's all we have for today. Hope you guys enjoy the show. I'll pull up the graphic next week, Chris, of the predictions. I think you're still ahead of 2 or 3. I was updating it. I'll go ahead and save that image and post it up. And then we got December, the championship round. You know, those last round of the year where we'll see Inoue, we'll see Fury Usyk, we'll see Vaquero Valdez too. Also on the card, Robesi against Espinosa number 2. So we still have a lot of boxing left, man, in these championship rounds. So I'm excited for it. And again, like I said, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for keeping that chat lit. We'll be back soon, man. We'll be back soon, mates. Chris?
For me, just thank you guys for showing your support throughout this whole years, man. Hey, Joe, if I'm up on those scorecards, if I'm up on the rounds, man, I'm gonna start throwing some haymakers, man. I think you're gonna have to let them hands go. Let's go.
Oh, man. I'm going out like Mike right now. Very conservative, but yeah, we'll see, man. It should be exciting. Once again, thank you guys. We'll be back soon, mates.
Peace.
Thank you, mate.
Riot season, riot season.
Spasiba.
Back Thursday, 2 days. Back Thursday. Let's go.
Or should we say, thanks, mates?
Thanks, mate. Final.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Against the Ropes. Huge shout out to Against the Ropes. Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview, and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time out y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.